Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the annual dinner for the Merkaz Hatorah Community Kollel. We're going to open the evening with two chapters of Tehillim, led by Rabbi Shalom Hirschman. The Tehillim are going to be shown on the screens, so please look to the screens for those.
Shir lamaloi sesoina yeleori meyayin yavo Ezri Ezri meyim adoino yoisei shamayim voretz Al yitein lamoit raglecho al yonum shemirecho Hine lo yanum velo yishon shomer Yisrael Adonai shomerecho Adonai tzilecho yad yaminecho Yoimam hashemesh lo yakeko v'yoreyach baloilo Adonai yishmorecha mikara, yishmor es nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeisecha vayecha, me'ata v'yad olam. Shira malois mimamakim kirasicha Adonai. Adonai shema v'koili tiyeh noznecha kashuvois l'kol tachanunoi Im avoinois tishmar yo Adonai mi'amoid Ki yimecha aslicha leman tivorei Ki visi Adonai ki v'sa nafshi v'lidvara yoichalti Nafshi l'Adonai mishomerim laboiker shomerim laboiker Yachel Yisrael el Adonai ki Adonai yachesed v'arbei moifedos Vehu yiftes Yisrael Mikoil avoynai so Acheinu kol beis Yisrael Anesunim betzaro v'shivyon dimei meyomim yabasha Mokem yirachem alayim V'yotziyem mitzaro lirvacho Me'afeila lo'iro mishibud l'gula Ashto b'agalu v'zman kariv v'noimar Amen
Bereshus, Rabbi Graydon and the Rosh Kollel. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here tonight to the annual dinner of the Merkaz Hatorah Community Kollel. It's deeply moving for me to be asked to welcome you here tonight. The Merkaz Hatorah Kollel's annual dinner has been a special event for me and my wife for many years. And I could never have expected to be asked to be the master of ceremonies for such an auspicious event. This is a unique opportunity for me, and these are unique times, underscored even more so for our family, with our only son, Elazar, currently in the IDF and serving in Gaza. We've been consumed by the unfolding events for the last few months. My name is Conrad Sachs, and I'm extremely blessed to be married to Sharon Sachs. Bli Ein Hara, we have 5 wonderful children and a sprinkling of grandchildren. We immigrated here from South Africa and have lived in Pico Robertson for 22 years. We're both architects by profession and now work in allied fields in business and chinuch. Hashem has led us on a journey that we could not have planned for ourselves, and we're absolutely humbled by our blessings. I love my Jewish life, and if I've learned anything from the path my wife and I chose for our family, it is that living a Jewish life really works. I strive to continue learning and guiding my family in the path that we're on, and I count the Kollel Merkaz Hatorah amongst my many, many blessings. It has been a vehicle for extreme positive change in my life, and we have benefited in every aspect of our lives from our close association with the Kollel. In the disturbing and challenging times we now find ourselves, we all understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is speaking clearly to Klal Yisrael to arouse us into a time of national and personal spiritual introspection. It is at times like these that we need spiritual guidance more than ever before. Torah is not just an academic subject to be learned, and mitzvahs are not just a way of life. In times like these, we have to understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is asking of us and how to translate that into our living, into our learning, and into our mitzvahs. Under the extraordinary conditions of these times, we seek guidance that will help us extract meaning and shape our thoughts. Guidance that will elevate us far beyond the perfunctory performance of our daily religious obligations. Rabbi Graydon and the Kollel have been our cherished source for this guidance. For example, through his in-person shiurim, Rabbi Graydon has helped us understand the deeper purpose of tefillah with specific reference to the events in Israel after October 7. In our morning WhatsApp shiurim, Rabbi Graydon has used sources like Sefer Nidchei Yisrael by the Chofetz Chaim to help us frame our thoughts so that we can be more grounded in these trying times. Weekly shiurim that use the Parsha and insights by Rav Yerucham Levovitz or Sefer Or Gedaliahu help us to find pathways for productive Jewish thinking, rather than be caught up in the maelstrom of public opinion. Through the efforts of the Kollel, we've been able to sift through issues of morality in an immoral world and maintain focus in these times of confusion. I was once walking home with one of the Kollel of Rechim and talking about some exuberant approach I had to an issue, and he turned to me and said, "Yes, you're right, but remember, we want normal." Those words blew me away. He had just given me the banner statement for the Kollel. The most outstanding quality of Kollel Merkaz Hatorah, Rabbi Graydon, the Roshei Kollel, the Avrechim, the Balabatim, and their families, is the pervasive sense of normalcy. This is the life we lead, this is the Torah we love, and this is the relationship that we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is in lockstep with his desires for us. My son's battalion exited Gaza for a few days recently. After 46 days without communication, he spent his first Shabbos with family in Jerusalem. Motzei Shabbos, he sent us a few reflective lines on his first time back in the city in over 2 months. He writes, "Something I took for granted was how beautiful the city lights are. We don't have this view in Gaza. In Gaza, any lit windows we'd shoot until it was dark again. The small things." To which his sister replied, "Just remember, it's through your efforts in Gaza that the lights are on in Jerusalem. And it's through the efforts of Rabbi Graydon and the Kollel leadership and the Avrechim that the light of Torah has permeated our homes in these dark times." Please enjoy this wonderful evening. Dinner will now be served. Thank you. Before we continue, there are 2 points I'd like to bring to your attention. Firstly, for those of you following our learning programs, we just completed an extremely successful annual Yarchei Kala program. This program is held in the last week of the year and focuses on a specific piece of halacha which is studied in depth over 4 days. We have men of every level of ability studying in small groups with rabbis and avrechim in an electric atmosphere. And I didn't Google it, I was there. The atmosphere is actually electric. This is a real treat for for us to work through and discover the construction of a particular halacha that many of us can't experience in our daily learning. And for those of you who missed this, don't forget, we have our nightly learning at the Kollel, which is often packed to capacity with people learning a wide range of topics at all levels, in groups or b'chavrusa. Just stepping into the room at 9 p.m. is inspiring, and I encourage you all to come by if you haven't been there before. Lastly, some of you have inquired, and many of you are following the progress with the permitting of our new building. We're pleased to announce that we have received endorsement from the Beverlywood Homeowners Association for our plans. And a special thank you, preserve it, and a special thank you to those of you who took time and wrote into the city stating your support for the project. This will help the city look favorably at our project when we meet with them in January. We will now present the feature video, followed by Rabbi Graydon's speech and the presentation to the honorees.
As the spiritual leader of PBM, I strive to nurture a warm and welcoming environment.
Rabbi Hirschman is the son of a Talmid Chacham and of one of the greatest Rabbanim of our generation.
PBM is a close-knit community of families who share a common goal of spiritual growth. I'm dedicated to supporting each individual in their pursuit of a deeper connection with Hashem.
It is amazing to be surrounded by like-minded people striving for spiritual growth. I look forward to Rav Hirschman's drashas, which light up my week.
My position as rabbi of the shul requires teamwork with my wife. The Rebbitzin keeps a close connection with all female members of the shul, and like me, she tries to inspire all the women to continue growing and enriching themselves through the Torah.
My wife and I were searching for a shul where we would be welcomed and could learn and grow. Rabbi Hirschman's PBM was precisely the right place for us. He and the Rebbitzin took the time to get to know and support us on our religious journey. They're honest, straightforward, and caring.
Something that also means a lot to me is my role at Ateres Avigail Bikur Cholim. The medical system is very complex to navigate, especially for people with life-threatening issues. Part of my responsibility is to maintain relationships with the doctors and hospitals to support patient care. When they get better, this is so gratifying. Seeing a need in our community, I took the initiative to create a mental health fund specifically for our community's children and adolescents. This program is a widely utilized resource in the community, and I take great pride in knowing that it positively impacts the emotional well-being of our children. My father Shlita founded the first out-of-town kollel in North America. I've always been extremely proud of that accomplishment. My parents' passion for Harbatzas Hatorah, spreading Torah, inspired me to join the founding families of Merkaz Hatorah and to assume a leadership role at PBM. When you're part of a grassroots movement like Rabbi Graydon's Kollel, living through its trials and triumphs, it taught me persistence and the tenacity to see your vision and mission through.
Rabbi Hirschman's leadership, guidance, and personal examples are inspiring and provide constant support for my family.
Leading by example is the most potent way of teaching. Being myself, living a visible Torah life, being compassionate and empathetic, and delivering practical divrei Torah help my congregants apply those concepts to their real-life experiences.
I have been contemplating wearing only black and white for a while. Rav Hirschman spoke in his Musar Shir about being nicely dressed for davening because you are going to see the king. This drasha was the Torah that helped me take the plunge. That moment is one of my life's milestones. It has been incredibly rewarding.
My father was sick for a year before ultimately passing away. During this time, Rabbi Hirschman was a tremendous support for both of us. He made sure to walk home with me from shul on Friday night to see how my father and I were doing. I could always depend on his empathy and compassion.
We are living under significant challenges regarding Eretz Yisrael at war, under siege, and the increased threat of anti-Semitism. The citizens of Eretz Yisrael are living under the threat of terrorism. The soldiers fighting in Gaza could be killed at a moment's notice, and the hostages are living in tunnels under barbarians.
Without the guidance of leaders like Rabbi Hirschman, I'd be swimming in a sea of uncertainty and anger, running in circles, chasing media posts and viewpoints. They help to put the focus on what I can do, which is to continue to grow closer to Hashem.
Rav Graydon and Rav Hirschman have shared Torah principles that have invigorated me. Rav Graydon said that we are all soldiers now, and soldiers don't go to sleep. We need to do our part.
The energy that will drive us is our empathy towards people in Eretz Yisrael who are living in danger. That's going to fuel us to keep on davening for them, doing mitzvahs in their merit, and keep thinking about the Jewish people who are suffering terribly. Rabbi Graydon is a powerful and idealistic leader who transmits yeshiva tradition. I learned much from his pure emunah and betachan in the Rebbeinu Shalom.
The devoted leadership and Kollel resources have had a tremendous impact on my wife and children. It provides us with a strong sense of direction, guidance, and community.
Los Angeles is brimming with spirituality. Having Rav Graydon, Kollel, Rav Hirschman as dedicated leaders in our community is a huge bracha.
There's a vitality to it that we can't put our fingers on. It's just when we do what we need to do, the message spreads. It's like radio waves inspiring others to do what's right.
I think that was a very meaningful portrayal of the real character and personality of Rabbi Hirschman and his wife. They should live and be well. The Kollel is extremely proud that he's one of our graduates and that he's been able to take this leadership position, create a shul that is servicing his mispallalim so well, and to lead Ateres Avigail, as he pointed out, which is something that's so needed in our community. Before I begin my remarks, I have to give a few thank yous. The danger of thank yous is you will forget people. So I was going to begin by saying I thank everybody who comes here tonight, people who couldn't come but who sent generous donations, people who make the effort to participate with us, the Kovod Hatorah. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening to see the room so full, so beautifully prepared. We're really, really grateful to you. I'd like to thank, as always, Mrs. Tali Merowitz, without whom the dinner wouldn't take place. Ms. Chana Beichman and Mrs. Dvara Becker, who've been her assistants in this project. Marilyn Rich, who for almost 2 decades is hiding from the public eye, but we caught her. I'd like to thank Mr. Lesser, who did the video, Mikey Horowitz and Moshe Rottenberg, the building and the finance of the Kollel, Rav Gedalia Shor, my son-in-law, who takes responsibility for so many things with no heirs and no expectation of a Yasher Koyach. And of course, Rabbi Danishevsky, who leads our Beis Medrash, and Rabbi Adler, who is the Paisik in our Beis Medrash, who is becoming increasingly valuable to the entire city, and I have to lock him down to make sure that I don't lose him. And then, of course, last but not least, the Avrechim. The staff members of the Kollel, whose dedication to Torah, to Avodah, to Gemilas Chasadim, to their families, to their children, to the community, is legendary and is really what brings everybody here tonight. I'm only telling you what you know. I'm not telling you what you don't know. It's a little bit hard for me tonight, for a lot of reasons. But unexpectedly, today, was the funeral of one of my great teachers, Ramateseo Chaim Solomon, Zechorna Livracha, the Mashgiach of the Lakewood Yeshiva and previously of Gateshead, a person that I was privileged to learn under for 52 years. If you talk about a loss for the Jewish people, so this is an incomprehensible gap in what we need to support us. So Shama that's being Oile L'Shamayim, when it presents itself in front of the Shechina, in front of the Rebbeinu Shleilim, should be a Melit Yoshe for everybody. After Yosef HaTzadik reveals himself to the brothers, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers, and they go off to their father Yaakov to tell the father, inform the father, that the long-lost Yosef is not just alive, but he's the viceroy in Egypt, and in addition he's kept the family values, family beliefs, the family morals. He's managed to maintain all of them. Yaakov makes a decision to go down to Egypt. Ves Yehuda shalach lefanov el Yosef lahoires lefanov. When he's leaving with his entire family, he says that he's sending Judah ahead of him, lahoros, to show, to teach. What does all this mean? Rashi, in the second interpretation of the pasuk, says that he sent Judah down to Egypt to create a Beis Talmud. Beis Talmud means a learning establishment, a kollel. Beis Talmud, a house of learning. With which purpose? In order that Misham Teitzei Hoira'ah, from there teaching should go to the Jewish people. And it's so important and it's so inevitable that it has to be there, that it must precede their arrival in Egypt. When they come to Egypt, even they're going to Goshen, which is a ghetto, and they could have been secure inside there, you need to have a Beis Talmud and Misham Teitzei Hoira'ah. Just an aside, I see that we're blessed tonight with the presence of Rebbetzin Fassman, whose husband, Reb Chaim Zechorna Livracha, began all the kollel in Los Angeles, and all the Talmud Torah that we see today in these Batei Medrash comes from them. Reb Chaim told me that when they came to Los Angeles at the time, the hashgacha was that just as Jacob, when he went down to Egypt, b'shivim nofesh, there were 70 people. When the original kollel came in 1978, whenever it was to Los Angeles, there were 70 members of the kollel. Husbands, wife, and children. So she said, this was, of course, historically, Yehuda's going to establish this Beis Talmud, but it's before the giving of the Torah. It's before Sinai. They didn't yet have the Torah. So it's true we have a tradition that our Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov kept the Torah, but the wider people, what were they doing? It's a big discussion, but what I want tonight is just to say the following. Lahoros Lofanov, they were there to give guidance. They were coming to Egypt, and even though they would be in Goshen where they're cut off from everything, but it's a new life, a new environment, in order for them to stay with the rules and the regulations and the values of the forefathers, they needed guidance and light. An example. Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest Jewish leader of all time, in the most important event that's ever occurred in the world, which is the transmission of the Torah from the Almighty to the human, through the agency of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah does not tell us what were Moshe Rabbeinu's qualifications to become that leader. We just find that he's in the desert and God speaks to him at the burning bush. What made Hashem choose Moshe? So the Alter von Kelm says the following. Moses had been left in the Nile in that little basket. He was floating down the Nile. He was taken by the Basia, the daughter of Paro. And he was raised in the house of Pharaoh as the adopted grandson of the king. He lived a privileged life. The Jews were being tormented outside. The Jews were being beaten and they were being treated as slaves. They were slaves. And he lived a blessed life. And one day he walks out of the palace. He knew that he was Jewish. His mother had raised him. She'd been the lactating nurse for him when he was born, when he was taken by the daughter of Pharaoh. She'd given him over Yesodus principles. He walks out and he sees an Egyptian pulverizing, beating a Jew. Now, if they were abused by the Egyptians, it's not reasonable to think that this was the only case of abuse that was going on in Egypt. It was probably regular to see. But he fell upon this particular circumstance, and he takes a look, and he can't bear it, and he beats the Gentile, and the Gentile dies and he buries him. The result of that was he had to run away from Mitzrayim, he had to go to Midian, he lost all his privileges. And if you think to yourself, what would I have done if I would have been Moshe? I probably would have said, I'm the adopted grandson of the king. As I get older and more mature, more eloquent and more powerful, maybe I can do something for the entire Jewish people. Why am I risking my life for one person in one event? It's not going to change anything. This is a sidebar. I'm not going to solve the problems. Yeah, that's not how Moshe looked at it. He couldn't bear the pain of the person who was being beaten, so he responded, reacted, and whatever comes later comes with it. This is called Noseh Ba'olim Chaveiro. He's bearing the burden of the next person. How does this work? The Torah gives us a mitzvah of Yohavta l'reacha kamocha. You have to love every Jew like you love yourself. Why do I need to love somebody I don't know, who might not have my qualities, who might not have my disposition, who might not have my customs? Why do I have to love him? And the answer is, because whatever your contribution to the Jewish people is, even if you're the most important person around, you cannot accomplish what you need to do unless you have the support of every other Jew fulfilling his mission. The shleimus, the perfection of Jewish performance, requires all Jews to be active in the field that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them for. Every single person was created with a mission, something that he must accomplish to help create the ultimate goal of the Jewish people. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this person with the intention the person should take his place in Jewish history is important as I am, or maybe more important than I am. And I have to live with that and love that and respect that. And if I love and respect the person, I care about him, and I can't bear his pain. Somebody came back from Eretz Yisrael last week and said the one thing that I can't tolerate. He said he was in different parts of Israel where the war is not raging. Business as usual. My dear friends, the words business as usual are treif. You don't use those words. I want to know something. The mother who has a son in the army, is it business as usual? Is it the man who's going out on some sort of search and destroy, whether it's in Gaza or in Jenin or in the north, wherever it is, and in a second he's dispatched from this world to Olam HaEmes? Is that business as usual? Is somebody fooling themselves that Iran can't send precise missiles to Israel? Nobody knows anything. What do you mean business as usual? You have to be foolish to think that way. But what we do need to know is that if we're not there, what is our business? Our business is to be Noseh Ba'oil. The Kollel is a base Talmud. The Kollel is a center of learning. When you learn, and you learn seriously, you develop and you change. As you see Rabbi Hirschman, the Rabbi Hirschman you see today is not the Rabbi Hirschman we saw 17 years ago when we came. It wasn't meant to be that way. He should be today 17 years greater than he was, and that's exactly what's been accomplished. The Kollel's message, Shemisham Teitzei Oiro, the Kollel's message is the expectation that people will daven and learn and give tzedakah and treat other people and think what's going on with the responsibility that everything we do impacts how HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at the Jewish people, and that a mitzvah can save somebody b'shas tzara, and an aveira, God forbid, can damage a person b'shas tzara, particularly Lashon Hara. The Chofetz Chaim writes in Shmiras HaLashon how, God forbid, a person speaks Lashon Hara can literally cause a death to a person. And it's not business as usual, whether you're here or whether you're in Eretz Yisrael. We're very, very proud of Rabbi Hirschman. We're very proud of his wife. Not that it's maybe our business to be proud. I mean, it's his parents, and his parents-in-law, and his chaverim. But when you run an institution, I was taught by my Rebbeim that you look at the people, the staff members of your institution, in some way like your own children. You're responsible for them. You have to worry about them. And you take nachas from them. And we can all take nachas. It's not a personal thing. I welcome you all to share nachas. Kodesh Baruch Hu should help. We should be able to continue our kollel, all the kollelim, the yeshivas, the day schools, to teach and inculcate the children with the values that makes them understand what it means to bear the burden of Klal Yisrael. The great Mashgiach, Zichron Livracha, Rabbi Solomon, who passed away last night, bore Klal Yisrael on his shoulders. We were with him in Russia. My wife and I went on a trip to Russia many years ago, and he was there. I'm a witness. He didn't sleep, and I don't know what that means. I understand it doesn't make sense. But when the day was over, he would go to his room, and he started phone calls to Australia, to South Africa, to England. He worked through the night. I was up early one morning. He was working. Klal Yisrael. That's what we hope we're teaching, we hope that people notice, and everyone should understand that. And everyone does this differently, how they're noseh ba'o. But you have to ask yourself a question, is this appropriate behavior or an appropriate expense or appropriate activity when so much of Klal Yisrael, Veitzach and Tsar, is going through such difficult times? It's our tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we will be noseh ba'o, which will allow us to really appreciate and understand the beauty of the Geula when it will come soon. At this point, I would like to make the presentation to Rabbi Hirschman, who will respond with his remarks. After I make the presentation to Rabbi Hirschman here, we're going to have a small presentation to his wife that will take place in the Ezras Noshim. Rabbi Hirschman. This? No. Oh. Presented to Rabbi and Mrs. Avram Yechiel Hirschman for their loyalty to the Kollel and their community leadership. Annual dinner Merkaz Hatorah Kollel, Teves 23, 5, 7, 8. I hope it says 4. I'll read it. January the 3rd, 2024.
Good evening. Firstly, and on behalf of my wife and my family, I'd like to thank the Kollel for giving us this tremendous kovod, this tremendous honor of being the honorees at the dinner tonight, and the opportunity for us to express our hakaras hatov to the Kollel for all that they've done for us and for our family over the years. I'd also like to recognize and thank all our friends that came out here for us tonight to show us the love and support. We truly, truly cherish the friendships, and we're really, really thankful that you came out here tonight to support us and to support the Kollel. So, So when Rabbi Graydon started speaking, I got a little nervous because I also wanted to speak about the milas, the attributes of having a beis medrash in the community. And it turns out that the Hashgacha Pratis is here. And Rabbi Graydon spoke about the attributes of a Beis Medrash before Matan Torah, when the Bnei Yisrael were in Mitzrayim. And Hashem was with me, and I prepared a speech to describe the attributes of a Beis Medrash after Matan Torah. The Gemara in Brachas tells us that when the Bnei Yisrael accepted the Torah, they accepted it with feelings of Ema, Yira, Reses, V'zeya. The Bnei Yisrael stood in fear and in awe of the Rebbeinu Shalom when he gave us the Torah. The Bnei Yisrael recognized, like Rav Conrad said earlier, that the Torah is not just something to study, and the mitzvahs is not just a way of life. When we learn Torah and we do mitzvahs, we're partnering with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Beis Medrash is the place where we learn Torah the way it was received at Har Sinai. We learn the Torah with the fear and the awe of the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's the purpose of the Beis Medrash. And from the time of Matan Torah, throughout all the trials and tribulations of Galus, the Rebbeinu Shalom always ensured that Klal Yisrael would not be without a Beis Medrash. In the late 1960s, Rav Shneur Kotler Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshiva of the Lakewood Yeshiva, and Rav Nassim Wachfeigel, the Zatzal, the Mashgiach, had a vision. They felt that in order for Yiddishkeit to thrive in America, every big city that has a robust, frum community needs to have a Beis Medrash in the community. The Maharsha in Masechta Shabbos asks an intriguing question. If you learn the Parshias in Sefer Shemais and Bamidbar, the Yidden started doing Averas after they left Har Sinai, when the camp was dismantled. So the Maharsha wonders, he says, why did they start doing Averas then? What changed? So the Maharsha answers, and he says something very important. The Maharsha says that since the Bnei Yisrael accepted the Torah at Har Sinai, and they learned Torah at Har Sinai had a status of a Beis Medrash. And all the while, the Beis Medrash was there, it was in the midst of Klal Yisrael. It influenced and impacted the Bnei Yisrael, and their relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom was very strong. And they didn't entertain a thought of doing Averas. It's only after they dismantled the camp, which they needed to do, and they started traveling in the desert, where the impact of the Beis Medrash wasn't as strong, that they started doing Averas. Like I mentioned on the video, in 1970, my father Shlita and Reb Shlomo Miller Shlita founded the Toronto Kollel, along with the financial support of Rav Moshe Reichman Zatzal. And shortly after their success, the Los Angeles community followed, and then Chicago and Detroit, Miami, and so on and so forth. The Kollel movement was born. If I recall correctly, the year 2005, Rabbi Graydon had a vision to expand the Kollel movement. And not only does every city need to have a Beis Medrash to influence the people in the city, in their Avodas Hashem, but every neighborhood needs to have a Kollel. And with that vision, Kollel Merkaz Hatorah was born. I like to do my personal learning at the Kollel because I feel like when I learn at the Kollel, in the Beis Medrash, that's existed since Har Sinai, I get a piece of Har Sinai in my heart. And I really feel that it improves my relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom and my Yiras Shamayim. And it gives me the relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom which I need to succeed in everything that I do during the day. I also encourage all the members of our community, of the Pico Beis Medrash community, to do as much learning in the Kollel as possible. You know, Baruch Hashem, we have a shul. And it would also be beautiful for our shul to be vibrant with Torah and tefillah as much as possible. I do think it's worth it for everyone to learn in the kollel as much as possible, to get that connection with the yeshiva, to get the connection with Har Sinai, that everybody's relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom could be taken to the next level. And I encourage everyone here tonight to do as much learning in the kollel as possible. It's so worthwhile. And of course, your shul is your shul, and your rav is your rav. But to get that piece of Har Sinai, while you learn Torah, that happens in a kollel. That happens in a beis medrash. I want to close my remarks tonight with an appeal to every single person who's sitting in this room. We all know the success that the kollel has had in its 17 years. You could just look around this room. It's unbelievable. In my opinion, the vitality of the Torah is on display the strongest, Simchas Torah evening at the kollel. Personally, in our shul, we closed down and we joined the kollel for the hakafas. The dancing with all the Bnei Torah in the area, l'chavod the Torah and l'chavod the Rebbeinu Shalom, is really an otherworldly experience. We live, I think, in one of the most diverse frum communities in the country. And that diversity is on full display Simchas Torah evening on Pico Boulevard. There's so many people just strolling up and down the street, checking out the different shuls and the wonderful programming that they have in honor of Yantif. I also notice every year that when all these people strolling up and down the street hear the singing that comes from the tent in the Chase parking lot, they're like Moshe Rabbeinu. They say, Asurana, ve'ere hamara hagadol hazeh. Let me turn off Pico, let me go down Canfield, and let me check out this tent. I hear the sounds of the Shekhinah here. And every single year the same thing happens. People are frozen. They're transfixed by the singing and the dancing of the Bnei Torah on Simchas Torah, for hakafa after hakafa after hakafa. It's unbelievable. If you haven't experienced it, I strongly encourage you to come, if we're not in Eretz Yisrael by then. But I do ask myself a question sometimes after Simchas Torah. When one comes to the kollel, the beis medrash at night, it's full. A lot of times there's no space to even sit. And there's younger light learning, and there's balabatim learning, and there's shiurim, and it's vibrant, and the atmosphere is electric. But sometimes I ask myself, where are the hundreds of people that are coming and stopping in that are and attracted to the ruchnius of the hakafas? Where are those people? And I think the answer is simple. With true Yiddish midas, many of the people who stop in feel, who am I? Mi ani. Who am I to go and learn in a beis medrash, which has the energy of Har Sinai, has the aim of a year of Ereses V'zeya? Who am I? And here's where my appeal comes in. Every single person here tonight has come here to support the kollel, because you know how warm the kollel is. You know how strong the kollel is. You know how open the kollel is. I could personally tell you in the early years how much effort Rabbi Graydon put in to make the kollel into a warm and welcoming place. When I'm there now and I see a guest come in, it's not 2 minutes before somebody in the administration or a younger man comes over and says, Shalom Aleichem, what's your name? Are you looking for a sefer? Can I offer you a coffee? The kollel is a wonderful place to spend time. But it's on each of us to bring in more people to the kollel. Take it on and say, this year I'm going to bring in 1 or 2 more people who haven't been exposed to the kollel. Let's expose them to the environment of the kollel. Let's give them a piece of Yiras Shamayim. Let's give them a piece of Har Sinai. That's on us. That's on everyone sitting here to do. And the Mirza Hashem, we're all going to partner in the Nevuah of Yeshaya Navi, who said, Umala ha'arat de'as Hashem, kamayim layam machasim. Once again, I'd like to thank the Kollel for this wonderful opportunity for us to be honored here tonight, and we should be zeicha to be makabel pnei Mashiach tzedkenu b'mehera b'yameinu, amen.
Okay, so we'll now be benching, led by Rabbi Shlomo HaKohen Hoberman, followed immediately by Myriv in the lobby. Thank you for a wonderful evening, and good night.